Hello everybody, and welcome to Soundtrack Saturday on Weird Spins. Today is the day that I typically try to share a soundtrack that I really like with you. This is kind of an unusual one for me to do, because usually if I like a soundtrack, it would mean that I discovered it because I like the movie. This is not the case, and so I will tell you up front, I do not like this movie. It's just not my cup of tea. It's one of those 70s or 80s woman assaulted gets revenge type of pictures, and the voyeuristic and cruel quality of those that's related too closely to reality is just something that I find deeply disturbing and bothersome on levels that I don't know. So I'm not a fan of the picture, and it was a big major studio kind of picture. It had Margot Hemingway and a pretty well-known cast. Picture called Lipstick, and I really disliked the film immensely. That's not to say that it was badly made. That's not to say that it does not have its merits otherwise, and that there is not an audience of people that would enjoy it that do not have a problem with it and probably would actually approve of it more for that revenge aspect. So far as it goes, I like a lot of really excessive and violent and crazy movies, but I tend to like movies that are, if they're going to be that way, I like them preposterous, if that makes sense. Zombies are not lurching into the backyard to get me. Werewolves do not exist. That kind of thing. I really cherish that stuff. And when they're really campy because they're badly made, or at least have inherent flaws in the performances, the dialogue, something. This movie does have this incredible soundtrack, though, by Michael Polnareff. And the best that I can describe it is the A-side is an orchestral suite. The opening titles are there, and they're kind of a disco style variation, disco/jazz variation of the orchestral suite, which is just called Lipstick Montage. The disco theme, it's okay. It's got a nice groove to it. It's got the vibe that reflects the era. The montage is up there with Riz Ortolani or Ennio Morricone for having this melody that's got this hook that's very dramatic and beautiful, and it's carried by various instruments in the orchestra as it goes through different things. At one point, the melody is carried by piano. At another point, it's carried by oboe, and so forth. And it's just a really beautiful section. The B-side is the fascinating part, which were used for the more horrific elements of the film. And to kind of make it make sense, the film villain is a dance instructor and experimental musician working with early synthesizers. Well, Michael Polnareff was also an experimental musician working at times with early synthesizers, so he was really ideally brought on board to do this work. And what he created with this recording has got to be some of the most nightmarish, bizarre, and abstract sounds I've ever heard committed to wax. And I mean that in a good way. The music that he generated using, I suppose there's maybe some early kind of sequencing involved with this, because of some of the stuff being so concise and feeling like it's rolling in loops and layers over each other. It almost feels like the Moog sounds that he created are percussive, like a Tyne piano would be or something. They almost sting because the attack on the notes is so strong. It's really interesting and very much, I mean, if you like psychedelic music and you like other kind of weird and interesting music that uses unique electronic tones, the B-side of this is a really fascinating pair of recordings. I don't know if it'll let me get away with a needle drop, but I'm gonna try. Alright, so we will see if YouTube copyright claims this on this one. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot. So you can see it's a traditional Atlantic label pressing. It's not a picture disc or a colored vinyl or anything like that. I'm very happy to have found this in really pristine shape. It is still definitely a very weird record. And I'll just go to the middle of the main montage on the B side. And we'll go a little further in and sample again. And a little more again. Just amazing. Very strange. Once more. So, Michael Polnareff's Lipstick, a most unique recording. So, even if the film's not your cup of tea, and I say that because I wanted to clarify, it's not my cup of tea, and that's perfectly all right for you to still actually appreciate a soundtrack in spite of the movie. If you don't like the movie, that's one thing. You can still love the music that accompanies and provides the underscore to that story. And this has been one of those cases for me. Here I flipped it over because it seems only fair you should be able to check out the breadth of this man's material for this movie and how stunning some of the rest of it can be. Just beautiful. That's it for this time for Soundtrack Saturday. See you again next week with another interesting soundtrack album. Check out a weird movie today. See you real soon.